What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you tuning in. So today I'm going to talk about some mistakes that have costed me tens of thousands of dollars per month in potential deals. So this is not clickbait. These are mistakes that will cost you six figures a year, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year if you don't pay attention to them, because all this stuff adds up, right? If you think about what we're doing here with running cold email, our whole objective is to get people on the phone, to get leads for our services, whether you're doing it for yourself or for a client. If you make these mistakes, really simple mistakes, but if you just skip over them, if you think you're too good for this stuff or you're above any of the stuff I'm about to mention in this video, I promise you it's going to cost you a lot. What's going to happen is you're going to have leaks in your campaign. You're going to have leaks from the time you launch your campaign all the way to the time you get people on the phone, and people are going to slip through the cracks. All these deals are going to slip through the cracks. And so your 2% reply rate that you think is great isn't going to matter anymore. Or your 50% reply rate, or positive reply rate, isn't going to matter anymore if you don't get these things in check. So this is the cold email money printer. And what we're focused on in this video is campaign management. So things to do pre-launch and then while you are launching the campaign. They sound easy, simple, obvious, and standard, but a lot of people skip these things. I know this because I did. The only reason why this framework here exists is because I made mistakes on all of these things. And it was only through trial and error and continuous trial and error ongoing that I built this framework, and I'm continuing to add to it as I catch myself in my own mistakes. So with that being said, let's dive into campaign management and things to avoid before launching your campaign and also while you are managing and running your campaign. So let me just make sure this is recording. Yes, it is. Okay, great. You'd be surprised. All right, so campaign management, let's talk about it. So before you launch your campaign, what are some things that you absolutely need to do that most people overlook? Spin tax. Spin tax is incredibly important, especially if you're sending anything over 1,000 emails per day. If you're sending under 1,000 emails per day, you can get away with a lot of things. And this is where people build a lot of bad habits that you don't really realize until you start sending more emails, because this stuff will bite you in the butt really fast. Your deliverability will drop and you won't be able to send out any emails, or you will, but they'll end up in spam. So spin tax, use ChatGPT. When you're spin taxing, the important thing here is you want to spin tax everything outside of your signature, so your name and your company name. But like even like the sign off, so like the best regards or sincerely or whatever you use, that needs to be spin taxed. If you don't know what spin tax is, I'm going to encourage you to check out some of my other videos where I go in depth. But what you're going to want to do is write one draft of the email. Write an initial draft. When you've finished writing that and you like it, you're confident with it, perhaps you slept on it, you're going to highlight it and copy it, you're going to paste it into ChatGPT, and then you're going to and in that same message you're going to write spin tax this in print, because otherwise it's going to give it to you in code, which is hard to see. So you're going to paste that draft into ChatGPT and you're going to say spin tax this for me in print. You're going to hit enter. ChatGPT is going to return a spin tax version of that for you in print. You're going to take that, you're going to paste it back into SmartLead or Instantly or whatever you use. Now, your job is not done yet. First off, you need to verify that you actually like the different variations, the spin tax variations that ChatGPT gave you. That's number one. This is going to take some manual editing, but it's worth it. Number two is the spacing gets messed up between the vertical bars, and you're going to end up with a lot of double spaces if you don't check this right. So what's going to happen is it's going to be like ChatGPT is going to give you something like this. Hi. Hey. Right? So it's going to give you something like this. What you don't realize is there's a space right here between this vertical bar and the word hi, or this vertical bar and the word hey, and this space right here, right? So how it's going to look right? How it's going to look is if it chooses the version high, it's going to be like this, high, because there's already a space here, right? So it's going to include this space, so high space, and then this space right here. So it's going to put in another one. So you're going to have stuff like this, right? So it's going to be double spaced, and it's just going to look weird. It's going to look very weird. And then you might have spin tax on the other side of this. Greetings. I'm just making stuff up here, but it's going to look like this. So it might pick this one right here. You already have a space here, right? And then this space right here. So it's going to be double spaced. So check over this stuff with a fine-tooth comb. Check over all of your work. Sounds self-explanatory, but people don't do it. I know this because I missed this. So next, spam words. No spam words unless absolutely necessary, unless it's just the best way to communicate what you're trying to say. So I will use the word guarantee in my copy, or I'll use the word pay in my copy. If you go to a place like a website like Mailmeteor, which is pretty good in terms of communicating which words are likely to trigger spam filters in Google and Outlook, it'll tell you not to use those words. It'll tell you not to use the word like risk or free or risk free or pay or guarantee, or even the word new, N-E-W, new. Like, there are only so many ways to communicate the word new, like revolutionary, game changing, breakthrough, first time ever. You know what I mean? Like, there are only so many ways to communicate the word new. So sometimes you might just have to use a word, and it's okay. It's fine if the copy itself is good and you're communicating this with the right intentions, you'll be okay. Ultimately, the biggest thing is, just making the email relevant so that people know this isn't coming from some scammer or just, some plain old, phishing scam or whatever it is, right? Just make it seem like a person wrote this. Other than that, try to reduce the amount of spam words. It does help, especially, again, if you're sending north of 1,000 emails a day, at which point you can safely say you're sending emails at scale, right? Because if you're sending 1,000 emails per day, 5 sending days, that's 5,000 emails a week, and you're at 20,000 emails a month. So you're at scale. You're in the league now. A lot of people who send 1 million emails a month will say that's nothing, and that's okay, but you're in the league. You send more emails than most people. And that's at that point where spam words, you got to be careful with those, and spin tax, you got to be careful with that. Next, only send in plain text. You've heard this before. No HTML, no images, no links. You've heard this before. However, people mess up by forgetting to check off the setting in SmartLead or in Instantly where it says, send in plain text or not. People forget to make sure that it's not sending in plain text. So just do that. Oftentimes the things we think are automatic, that we've automated, or the things that we think we've selected as default settings, they get messed up, they get reset sometimes. So only send in plain text, no HTML, no images, no links, unless the person has gotten back to you first. All right. Next, run a spam test. By the way, this is all pre-launch. Run a spam test. Always. Don't skip this part. Always run a spam test. They're pretty accurate. They are pretty accurate. You'll find that it's not that hard. If you do these things that I'm mentioning here, it's not that hard to get around the spam filters in Google and Outlook. The toughest part is you're getting around the person's mental spam filter, having it so that they don't hit you with spam. And there are a bunch of different ways to do that, in copy, in making sure we're targeting the right people, in making sure we have the right offer, the infrastructure and stuff like that. Well, the infrastructure will take care of the Google and Outlook spam filters, but all this other stuff is for the mental spam filter. And you can see how many different ways we try and navigate a mental spam filter. It's pretty crazy, but it's important. All this stuff adds up and it matters. And this is why most people can't do cold email themselves. And why, if you can do it, it's so lucrative and it's in such high demand. Anyway, I digress. Run a spam test. They're accurate. Takes 5-10 minutes max in SmartLead or Instantly. Run a spell check in Google Docs. Oh my goodness. the amount of times I've caught typos in my work. Sometimes I'll purposely leave a typo. Sometimes I'll purposely make a punctuation mistake. Sometimes I'll purposely make a capitalization mistake, so it seems kind of just like laid back and corporate. Because if you look at emails sent between people in a corporate setting, it's very nonchalant, like a one-liner, no capitalization. Hey, can you forward this over to Joe Schmo? It'll just be like that. So kind of fit in a bit, right? But it helps run a spell check in Google Docs. If you're going to make a mistake, make it intentional. Make it a deliberate mistake. Always copy whatever you wrote after it's spin taxed, copy it, paste it into a Google Doc, run a quick spell check, and you'll be glad you did that. Send a test email to yourself. I'll admit I don't always do this now. Because I'm comfortable with like lengths and my style of writing and stuff like that, but this helps. It does help. Sleep on it. I don't like to rush copy. Sometimes I will, but I don't like to rush copy. This morning I got to launch a campaign that I haven't even started yet, so I won't have time to sleep on it. So sometimes that's how it goes. Launch times for UK, Australia, New Zealand. Be careful with this. Make sure that you're launching it in the recipient's time zone. If you're not doing that, make sure you're launching the campaign at a time where it makes sense to when they receive it. So if you're launching it at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in Australia, that's late in the evening, if not early morning. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I've made this mistake before. If you're getting an email from someone pitching any sort of services at 3 a.m, it looks weird. Avoid all these mistakes. Make sure you do all these things we talked about before launching the campaign. Now, when you've launched the campaign, quick replies are important. If you find that you're on the go or you're busy a lot, or perhaps you're doing stuff like this where you're making content a lot, or you're in meetings with clients a lot like I am, or you're on the road, sometimes you can't always get back to people within 5 minutes, even if you have all your notifications on and stuff like that. Sometimes you can't. It's just unrealistic. So maybe you set some sort of autoresponder with ChatGPT and Make.com or N8N or whatever it is, right? Or you just have your responses ready. Have your responses ready, just set up in your notes, and then you can just add the person's name. You just copy that, paste it into the email, and add the person's name. Get it as close to 5 minutes as possible. Huge factor when it comes to stopping leaks and the success of your overall campaign. Next, this is especially for beginners. Do not pause your campaign unless the reply rate is 0%. If it's anything above 0%, even if it's 0.1%, just let it go. Let it finish. Why? Because oftentimes the second email number 2, and I don't run anything more than a 2-step sequence. Oftentimes the second email is where people reply to you. You'd think it's the first one, but sometimes it's the second one. A lot of times it's the second one. Either just because that first email wasn't convincing enough and they didn't have it in them to tell you to stop emailing, or they just got too busy. So don't pause the campaign. Make sure that you're not counting out of office replies and automated replies as part of your reply rate. A lot of people do this, especially the folks who parade their super high reply rates. It's so easy to fake. Don't do this stuff, and don't pay too much attention to people who just post screenshots of their reply rates, because you don't know what that campaign was. It could have been a one-off campaign that doesn't scale, or you know what I mean. It's just, don't pay attention to that stuff. It's not what it seems. KPI, ideal KPI you want to get to is 1 meeting per 1,000 emails sent. That's the ultimate KPI. So let's track reply rates and track positive reply rates, but don't get too caught up with that stuff. At the end of the day, are you booking meetings or not? The mistake people make is trying to optimize for reply rates and stuff like that. But hey, the reply rates can all be negative, right? So keep your eye on the prize. The prize is getting people on calls in meetings for either yourself or your clients. And just know it takes time to get there. It takes time to get the campaign right. It takes a lot of iterating, a lot of testing. You're going to have a lot of campaigns that fail before you get the one that's right. This is with anything. This is cold calling. getting the right script. This is ads, getting the right creative, getting the right targeting, right? It takes time to get there. Don't overpromise your clients anything. Make sure they understand expectations. Conversion strategy. So on the topic of getting people in meetings and getting them in emails, make sure that you're following up until you get a clear yes or no. I was following up with people till infinity, until I got a clear yes or no. Now I'm of the school of thought where it's like, hey, I'm going to follow up maybe 4 times max, 4 or 5 times max, if that. And after a certain point, I'm just going to assume that this isn't for you. You're not interested, or you're just not serious, because I wouldn't want to work with someone who, is so hard to reach. So most people who I am working with right now, like it took maybe 2 follow-ups, 3 follow-ups max. Usually they'd get around to it quite quickly. But for people who are interested and who are serious, you're not going to get ghosted. So nobody is that important. I'll just be honest. It's a sign, like, even if they do come around after follow-up 9 or 10, it's a sign that it's going to be a very tough client to work with. And it's just not something you want. So sometimes you will have to make up reasons as to why you're following up, and that's okay. But I'm going to change this to follow up 3 to 5 times max, because people are professional time wasters, and you don't want to be one. And also, the more times you email them, the more likely it is that you're going to get marked as spam, especially if they haven't gotten back to you. Take the hint. All right, guys, so these are mistakes to avoid when launching your campaign. There are a million other things I could have talked about. Every single one of these individual boxes, these purple, green, blue, red, yellow, orangey, mustard boxes, every single one of these is like if you do the opposite of them, it's going to kill your campaign. So it takes all these things to make a campaign work. And when I'm on the phone with a client, I show them this. I'm like, hey, you can go and do this yourself. Just know that you're going to have to get all these things right for your campaign to work. And all these things are a skill in themselves and are a learning curve. And I welcome you guys to try this and gain the experience yourself. But at the end of the day, it's just about how much time do you really have and how long can you wait to see results, right? Anyway, that's besides the point. So if you have any questions, leave a comment. If you wanted me my agency to set up your cold email and manage it for you, or just audit your current cold email campaigns, I'll leave a link in the description so you can book a free consultation with myself. All right, guys, see you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.